I made it, and I think I'm on. I think we're good. It is only 12:04. Not bad considering, if you knew. Anyway, you don't need to know my last minute getting here, but I'm here and I made it, and you're here as you're coming into the room, into the classroom, I like to call it now. Kind of think of it that way. And I have my regular class, my regular students who are usually with me every single week live. And then a lot of you are tuning in later on via YouTube or Rumble, but it's great. I always love having my students here because you guys interact with me, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, introduce myself, Rebecca Becky Montrone. I am a holistic healthcare practitioner certified through the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, have a degree in holistic nutrition. So when I work with people in consultation, and I work with people of all ages and with all kinds of things going on, whatever it might be, then I use lifestyle management, nutrients. Okay, so diet, exercise, those kinds of things. Nutrients, both food, right, is the base, and then supplements, many supplements. I highlight here, we're going to be talking about one today, but of course, supplements always go back to what are actual nutrients that we get from food. And then also I'm an herbalist. So I formulate and make a lot of different herbal medicine products. So that's what we're all about here at Wondrous Roots. Have a great staff, gives me all the support I need. And yeah, so let me just click on see you guys. Hello, hello, hello. What do I want to say? Happy Mother's Day weekend. And we've got a little bit overcast here in Keene, New Hampshire, where we are. And yes, located here at Keene, New Hampshire, in the Miller Forge building upstairs on the 3rd floor. So this is an old mill building. I don't know if I maybe could just take my camera for a second and kind of show you if you've not been in here. Hang on, I'll try to do that and then try to get my camera back where it belongs, right? So maybe I'll regret doing this, but we'll see. Let's see here. Okay, so you can see here the exposed, this is an old mill building. So you see there the brick. This is a really cool old railroad map of New Hampshire that my dad had. That's here. And then if you go around there, this is what I see when I'm sitting at my desk. There's a portrait of my dad. And then you've got, come on, let's see here. What am I doing wrong? Anyway, you can kind of see that. You can see the windows up here on the ceiling. We have exposed ductwork. Yeah, you can see that there. Anyway, you kind of got the tour. That's just of my office. The doors there going out into the main room, which is not lit, so you can't see very much. One of the rooms, but we have a great suite of offices here. See if I can get that back where it's supposed to be. That wasn't too bad. So in any case, it's a really cool building, and we're up on the 3rd floor, but we have free parking, plenty of ample free parking out there. We have elevator access to this floor, as well as a very challenging stairwell. But a lot of people like it. I usually use the elevator, not because I can't do the stairs, but I'm usually more interested in time, and I usually am kind of burdened down with bags and things. But yeah, so we're here 9:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Phone number here is 603-439-2603. You can also reach out to me from either of our websites, wondrousroots.org or shop wondrousroots.com, and those messages come to me. And nobody else sees them, and I will get back to you. I do apologize. Sometimes it is a challenge. I am usually about, I think I am right now at this moment, 95 appointments out, booking consultations into July. And I don't say that to make it sound like I'm the person of the hour, but if it takes me a while to get back to you, that's why. Because I'm taking care of the people I'm taking care of today. So getting my calls out to get back to you, but I do my best to do that in a really timely manner. And so anyway, I do have a couple of people I know that I was not able to get a hold of by the week's end yesterday. So we'll do that some over the weekend. So anyway, the number here, 603, I told you that. I told you that, how to reach me. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I think, yeah, and I see people here in the office, and I also see people like this, long distance. So I have a lot of people I've never met in person and never will, and that works out just fine. So there you go. There's the intro. And speaking about people all over the place, now this isn't a consultation, but I have to tell you a funny story. I don't know that I've really talked about this product on the air, but I'm just going to mention it. So I make a product for hemorrhoids. So, and it's called Shrink That Thing. Isn't that clever? I mean, I got that sort of product naming thing from my father. My father had like Itch Go. He was a compound pharmacist, right? So Itch Go, Bug Off, Baby Bug Off, you know, things like that. So, you know, I kind of got the corny name the product thing from him. And so I call this Shrink That Thing. So one day I come into work and I've got maybe 20 orders for Shrink That Thing, like 20 orders in a row for Shrink That Thing on the internet. And I'm like, so I was like, is this like fraud? I mean, is because sometimes you get fraudulent orders, and I've learned how to spot those and nip them in the bud. That's really kind of fun too. But it wasn't it's never been like a run on one product. So I was like, what I'll normally do if I think an order is a fraud is I'll call the phone number. And if there's a phone, and if it says this phone number doesn't exist, then I assume it's a fraud, and I go right back in and I refund the order. So the person whose card got like, you know, stolen gets their money right back. Isn't that clever? I love that. But anyway, this wasn't that. So I called the first person, and he told me that, I said, I just wonder, because I've just had a run on this product. And he said, well, there was a Reddit feed about your product, Shrink That Thing for hemorrhoids. So I said, oh, okay. So, I mean, to this day, then this was a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I'm still filling orders every day for Shrink That Thing because of this Reddit feed. So, you know, that advertising where you didn't expect it. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is because I sent a bottle to Singapore yesterday. And it's really kind of funny because it's a simple product. All it is, okay, so I had read about this several years ago. Actually, I think it was Raymond from Canada. You know, he was my guest back right before the holidays, talking about breathing, Raymond Elias. And I think it was him, because he and I were just like so into iodine, or as he would call it, iodine, or he calls it iodine. And so I was like, he said, I read that iodine, he said in his British accent, is very good for hemorrhoids. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I went looking into it, and I found out like the percentage of all I use is potassium iodide and fractionated coconut oil, liquid coconut oil, in a certain percentage. I guess that's the proprietary info, but I mean, I found it online, so anybody can find it if I can. And I made this product. Now, I made it for a young man, 29 years old at the time, and he had had a terrible bout of ulcerative colitis. And he had, from that whole ordeal, and we had been able to get on top of that, but he was left with, you know, a mess of hemorrhoids. And he was in so much pain, he had to use pain medication at night in order to sleep. And he was having surgery the very next day. I mean, no, he was having the very next day from the time I sent him out with a bottle of this to try it. And he was like the maiden voyage on this product. The next day he was scheduled for an appointment to discuss having surgery to have the hemorrhoids surgically removed. Now, again, hemorrhoids are basically varicose veins of the anus, right? So, but they're very, very painful, and they're very troublesome. And when you have that problem, as I'm told, it's just really very, very unpleasant. But anyway, he was in a lot of pain. So I sent him home with this, try it, you know. And he said, I've got his testimony right on the product description page on my website, said that they were about 50% improved the first night. So since then, I've recommended this to people, and people have used it, you know, for several years. I think that was back in 2017 or maybe even earlier. but I've never made a big deal about it. I've just, people ask me if do you have something for hemorrhoids? Like they do you have something for cough? And I make a recommendation. But anyway, after this Reddit feed, we've been slammed with it. And anyway, continue to get those orders. So if you suffer from hemorrhoids or you know somebody who does, it's called Shrink That Thing. And you can find it on shopwondrousroots.com. And again, it's kind of cool because it is very, it's very, very, what do I want to say? There's nothing in it that's bad for you. Absolutely not. It's just fractionated coconut oil. And the iodine I use is clear, right? So it doesn't mess your clothes up or anything. So anyway, that's a cool little plug for that product. But Reddit, thank you, Reddit, for getting the news out there. All right. So today I gotta go and open up my newsletter. You guys probably have seen it, those of you who are with me. I'm just going to pull it up. Where did it come? Wondrous Roots, Zoom Saturday. There we go. All right. And I think I will go ahead and plan to share my screen. But it was funny because this morning I'm like, what do I really want to talk about? And I don't know, those of you who are sensitive to allergies, or maybe you haven't been very much until recent years, but it seems like the pollen season just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And I don't know, the past couple of days, I have just really noticed that it's been stronger. So I do a few things. I use Quercetin twice a day, and I wear the Alpha Biocentric bioenergy disc, the discs, the things that go on your back, the back of your left shoulder. They look like that, but I use the one for allergies, which helps. Those are kind of like my baseline. And then I have my trusty allergy relief plus herbal formula here to take. But I did notice yesterday and this morning, just the allergies, the pollen count is up, and you're seeing it on your car, the yellow pollen and things like that. And so anyway, you have to do something about it or you're miserable. So anyway, here it is about 10 o'clock, and I still don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. And I'm toying with ideas. Like I was thinking about, sunscreen and the whole thing, but then I really want to do a lot more on sunscreen, because it isn't about safe sunscreens. It's really about sunscreens really aren't good for you. And I really want to be able to put more time into that. And here it is 10 o'clock and I'm on the air in 2 hours, and I have to do the newsletter, right? So I'm there, I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at thinking of different things, because I always have tons of things. And I was thinking, and I said to God, because I'm always talking to God. And I said, what would we talk about this morning? And I'm not trying to sound hokey or anything, but as things would be, I glance up and I've got a blank new screen up on Edge. And you know how they're always coming up with things that they think that you're going to want to buy. There was a bottle of Quercetin. And I was like, perfect. So that's how I got my inspiration this morning, was this bottle of Quercetin as a random ad on my computer as I'm staring there. It's kind of like when you have, your writing teacher gives you an assignment and you're like, okay, I have to write something. And then you get writer's block. You're like, well, what am I going to write about? Well, what's really cool about time pressure is it's the best thing for block of any kind like that, right? You just got to do it. But I'm so glad, because it is a really important nutrient to talk about. And I've used it recently. Some people I've had on, say, Moducare for autoimmune conditions. And I've recently switched them from Moducare to Quercetin, because I didn't realize that Quercetin also had the effect of modulating the Th1, Th2 response of the immune system, like Moducare does. But Quercetin is much easier to take because you don't have to take it away from animal food by an hour. So people that I have on Moducare, you have to take it in the morning, then you got to wait an hour before you can have any food that comes from an animal because of the absorption pathway. You don't have that problem with Quercetin. And quercetin also came up in the news during COVID-19 because quercetin works similarly in some ways to hydroxychloroquine. And so quercetin has many other applications than allergy. But for allergy and mast cell membrane strengthening, it's useful and it's a very wonderful thing to know about. It does come from foods, of course. So we're going to dig in. I'm going to open my newsletter. Well, I've opened my newsletter. I'm going to share my screen. A God moment, and he came through. Absolutely. That's what Connie just said. And oh yeah, if you want to participate, you can type into the chat. You can, as Connie did, go to the Q&A and type in there, and or you can raise your hand. Like Joe is with us today, so when Joe wants to speak, he usually raises his hand, and it's just like when he used to call in on the radio, and it's just like that. So you can do it any way you want, or you can. I think I can even get you on if you wanted to come on video and be seen. So anyway, I love this way to do stuff. So, okay, that covers that. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay. I never feel though, like, oh, I don't want to do a show. I never feel like on a Saturday, like, oh, I just wish I wasn't doing this and I didn't need to come up with a topic, because I have so many topics. It was just like, what one do I want to talk about today? So it's all, it's all fun for me. It's all fun for me. It's relaxing. It's just that you gotta watch the clock. Anyway, so yeah, everything's in full bloom here. We've got a lot of that going on, and I know that you guys are feeling it too. So, but again, quercetin, it goes beyond. So quercetin, again, what is quercetin? And I think that maybe that's the first place to go. Like, what is quercetin? It's a bioflavonoid. So bioflavonoid is a type of nutrient, and it's found in bioflavonoids. We think of quercetin, but we think of diosmin, we think of hesperidin. And let me also go, okay, the meeting's being recorded, but I also want to be able to, I'm usually able to, when I'm doing this, see my chat and everything. Now, how come I can't see that? Maybe I need to bring this down a little bit. Maybe that's it. I'm screen sharing. There we go. Okay, so hang on one second. Participants, there you are. And then chat. I don't know if you guys go through this on your screen when you're trying to do this, but I make sure I get my ducks in a row here before I go into things here. Okay, you should all be able to see that pretty well. So I really like, I've said this before, but I really appreciate the work of Dr. Josh Axe. And I really like his links too, because some of these informational links you go to and they are so busy, they are so annoying, right? You've got pop up in your face every second, and something, there's little videos playing down here or something that just drives me crazy. But I wouldn't go to a link that I didn't like just because it wasn't busy, but I appreciate that his links aren't busy. If they're too busy and I really want the information, as you guys know, sometimes I'll often make a PDF of it and just kind of get out of the online stuff altogether. But so quercetin is considered, okay, whatever makes superfood, or what top superfoods like red wine, green tea, kale, and blueberries all have in common? The answer is quercetin. Actually, the highest level of quercetin in foods is elderberry, which I thought was really great, because elderberry is also something that we use for, for colds and flu and stuff like that. And it did make me wonder when I learned that, why it's not in my allergy relief formula, because I don't think I'm sure it isn't yet. It will be in the next batch. Because that's really cool. I didn't realize that elderberry was so high in quercetin. But anyway, foods like, all right, well, wait a minute. It's considered to be the most widely distributed and extensively studied flavonoid. according to a 2018 review. In fact, it's been shown in dozens of studies to have anti-carcinogenic, so that's anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and antiviral activities. When combined with the health benefits of bromelain, an anti-inflammatory enzyme, its benefits expand even further. So all this explains why so many experts recommend consuming food sources that contain quercetin regularly. So how much should you consume? Whatever. Okay, consider one of the most abundant antioxidants in the human diet. Again, antioxidant quercetin plays an important part in fighting free radical damage, the effects of aging and inflammation, according to many studies. So interesting in the information recently I've been reading about the sun and sun damage. Article I was reading this morning from the Weston A. Price Foundation, which you guys know, that's another go-to that I really like for a resource that I really love to go to. Talking about when you start to get a sunburn, it shows that your antioxidant reserves are wearing off. So antioxidants are really the way to go. People will come in and ask me, do you have, a healthy sunscreen? And I did carry one last year, and I was about to carry them. I was looking this morning at what do I want to stock for sunscreens. And then I started doing this research, and I'm like, I really don't want to stock a sunscreen for the reasons I don't use sunscreen. But getting even some more cautionary information regarding zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, which are we consider the safe sunscreen things. But anyway, there's so much more to be said about the sun and sunscreens and all of that. But I have told people, and this is what we do, or I do, is our Wondrous skincare line, the cream from which we make the lotion, and then we make the immune skin and all of that. But the cream and the creams and the lotion, the cream and the lotion, which are the base of everything, are so rich in antioxidants that they stop burn. We use the cream to prevent radiation burn when people are going into the hospital to get radiation treatments. And it works like a charm. If people use it, you don't have it on while you're getting the treatment, but then you put it right on and you keep it on. And people go through weeks of radiation treatment without even a hot spot. This has been from its beginning, the first time I made this back in the early 2000s. So this is it's just the magic of the plants. It is just their rich antioxidant vitality. And so the main thing about the sun is not getting overexposed, right? So you go out, or your children, you let them play for a certain amount of time, and then you take them out of the sun. You don't like put them on the beach for the whole day and slather them with poisonous sunscreen so they can be in the sun all day. You limit the time, and then you use and put on like our lotion, just our regular skin lotion, and put that on after. If you put it on after and you've gotten pink, you will see that brown up within hours. You will see it begin to make that transfer to tan. What is a tan? The tan is your natural sun protection, without any chemicals, without any. And so this is the way you do it. We had a summer cottage. It still exists today. And as soon as school was out, my mother had the car all packed up and off we went for the summer. And we were outside all the time, but you get that gradual buildup, and you weren't worried all the time about slathering on. And then you were brown as a berry for the rest of the summer, and you just weren't, constantly worried about getting a sunburn. So that's going to be like probably next week. I'm going to talk more about that. But again, the antioxidants from the inside, and that's how I got off on this bunny trail, was talking about quercetin. Quercetin is a powerful antioxidant. So also consuming antioxidants, right, is going to protect our skin from the inside as well against burns. So when you're starting to see you're getting the burn, you have expended your antioxidant supply that's going to protect you. So that's a good clue too about some of the nutrients that you might need to be ingesting. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Okay, so here. What is quercetin used for? Antiviral, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic agents. Flavonoid polyphenols are most beneficial for downregulating or suppressing inflammatory pathways and functions. Quercetin is considered the most diffused and known nature-derived flavonol there is, showing strong effects on immunity and inflammation caused by leukocytes or other intracellular signals, things that are telling us to autoimmune, right? Your body is telling your body, your immune system, to attack your tissues. So that's really great because things that we have naturally to use for balancing that Th1, Th2 response of the immune system are super important for keeping people off immunosuppressive drugs. In many cases, we can do that. Not all the time, but many times we can, using things like glutathione and something like Moducare, or glutathione and something like Quercetin, to do that and to adjust. And what causes, like from autoimmune, what causes your rheumatoid arthritis pain is the inflammation that comes from the imbalance of the immune system. What's causing your psoriasis rash to appear, or your eczematous rash to appear, is the imbalance of the inflammation that comes from the imbalance of the immune system, that Th1, Th2 imbalance. What's behind your autoimmune thyroiditis, your Hashimoto's thyroiditis? Again, you've got the imbalance, the inflammation that's coming from that imbalance. So if we can get natural things on board that are effective to combat autoimmune diseases and conditions, that's a big thing in today's modern medicine, world of modern medicine. It's super important. And again, these things always simply impart other benefits to our bodies, not the opposite. As a comparison, like an immunosuppressive drug, suppressing all of your immune system so that now, okay, your rheumatoid arthritis is less, but now you're catching colds more frequently. And that's the beauty of something like the plant sterols and sterolins and Moducare, or the flavanol, Quercetin, doing those things. Beta-glucan is another thing that does that. So beta-glucan, that's another great topic. Anyway, how exactly do flavonoids benefit us? It all comes down to the abilities of high antioxidant foods to scavenge free radicals. As a major bioflavonoid in our diets, quercetin, a type of polyphenolic antioxidant, helps slow the aging process because it lessens the effects of oxidative stress on the body. Oxidative stress takes place in all of us, but is increased by things like poor diet, high levels of stress, a lack of sleep, exposure to chemical toxins. We are in a free radical environment. We are in a free radical world, full of free radicals. And this is what wears us down largely. And so many of the things that we do naturally in our diet, and again through dietary supplements, is to combat free radical damage. So anyway. So again, think of all of your antioxidants. What is the biggest antioxidant? Is glutathione. Melatonin is a huge antioxidant. These we make ourselves, right? But we make less of them as time goes on. Other huge antioxidants, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C. And that's just some of them. But those are big ones that we recognize as these are antioxidants. Lipoic acid, which also then recycles the other antioxidants in our bodies and gives us more bang for the buck there. So anyway, quercetin can help stop damaging particles in the body. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I like this too, known as free radicals, which negatively impact how cells work, including damaging the cell membranes, changing the way DNA works. Okay, epigenetics. I've been talking about epigenetics a lot lately. And we talked about butyrate about 3 weeks ago. Butyrate, sodium butyrate, which is a short chain fatty acid that we make, okay, class, who can remember, that we make in our intestines, we make in our colon from prebiotic foods, that are high in fiber. Butter is also a very rich source, but butyrate in our bodies is also very, it has epigenetic features about it. It also has antihistamine features about it. I have since like honed in on that one too. We talked about that, but I've honed in on it for a person with a mast cell activation syndrome, which is a very severe problem with mast cell histamine release, right? High histamine since that time. But but butyrate also works in an epigenetic fashion, changing for the better the way genes are expressed in our body. Glutathione does that as well. I'm sure, Brad, that sulforaphane has an epigenetic function. I'm sure that's part of its brilliance. Brad Hodgkins here with sulforaphane, Indoor Gardens of Poughkeepsie, the wonderful green broccoli radish sprout powder, which is absolutely amazing. And wanted to point out, Brad sent me information last week about how it works so well for arthritis. And within days, and I had never thought, I told Brad, I have never thought about sulforaphane for arthritis, but it makes all the sense in the world, right? Because it is so powerfully anti-inflammatory. And so anyway, we have these certain things that help our genes behave so that, like glutathione keeps the activity of enzyme P53 high, and P53 is a tumor suppressor gene. I like to call it a gene, but it works genetically that way. So again, we come back to quercetin, our topic today. Quercetin also changes the way DNA works, increasing cell mutations and causing healthy cells to die. That's how the free radicals work. The free radicals do that. And quercetin helps reduce that expression of the inflammatory genes. So again, so you've got the inflammatory genes, you have the inflammatory free radicals. The free radicals actually exert their own epigenetic function, but it's for the worse. It's how do those things give us cancer? Like, do they just cause how do they cause cancer? By changing the genetic expression and making us more vulnerable. So quercetin is one of those that modifies and stops that gene altering from the free radicals by stabilizing the genetic structure itself. Really wonderful. Again, it comes right back down to that principle. You have more power than you know. You have so much more control over your fate when it comes to your health. That is like such an exciting concept. And you should never forget it, because that whole idea that, well, there's no cure for this, or this is just the way it is. And yes, we are all going to age, but we want to have control over how healthfully we age and how gracefully we age, and how we can just say, well, that's just what happens. You get older. Why do more people have cancer once they get older? It's because of these things that have been wearing down their genetic integrity. And so keep those genes that prevent negative mutations from doing that. And so this is like powerful. And when you think about it, it all really essentially comes back to our food for the most part, except, getting this from our food today in proper amounts and in forms that are not polluted with herbicides, pesticides, and that do not come from nutrient deficient soils. If we had a better food supply, we would be able to really rely much more on foods if we were responsible about our diet. Most people who are listening to me right now or at any time are responsible about their diets, or you would not be interested in this stuff. But being very vigilant to get a wide variety of foods that contain these these antioxidants, bioflavonoids, you name it, that we need. And it is all right there in the food that that is provided to us by our creator, but we have to take advantage of it. So anyway, at this time, research now shows us that inflammation is the root of most diseases, including heart disease, cancer, cognitive decline, some mental disorders, and autoimmune disorders. And at this time, practitioners and patients report using quercetin to effectively fight conditions related to inflammation, including, and again, why do I love something like quercetin? Because I'm doing this. I made sure I put this into my regimen recently because of the seasonal allergies, but at the same time, it's affecting all of these other things. So people use it for hardening of the arteries, for balancing cholesterol, for heart disease and circulation problems, for insulin resistance and diabetes. Quercetin is a bioflavonoid, right? So when it comes to circulation, one of the things that the bioflavonoids do very nicely is they support the integrity of the veins, like making them stronger. So that's why they use, like we have a product called, I don't know, they make different products made of bioflavonoids called like Young Legs or vein. We have one called Vein Sense here, but it's all about, it's all touted for the veins in your legs, but that's the whole idea behind it. These bioflavonoids, hesperidin from citrus, diosmin, quercetin, bromelain from pineapple, they all are strengthening of these blood vessels. Insulin resistance and diabetes, a huge problem today in the world of health problems. Eye-related disorders, including cataracts. Again, we've been talking a lot about that and the nutrients that are so necessary for that. But this damage that comes to the eyes, and again, I showed that, okay, I'm going to go grab it. Hang on one second. I'll be right back. So, okay, now I got to stop my share for a second. So this chart, this was talking about magnesium in the eyes, and I was talking about how I added magnesium to my MSM eye drop. But you can see here that magnesium helps regulate all of the inflammation. So the inflammation is caused, right, by free radicals. So, and so then you end up with glutamate poisoning. Anyway, this is like magnesium, but then you could say also, when we're talking about things that are beneficial to the eyes, what your basic purpose here is to downregulate inflammation and to upregulate antioxidant activity, and therefore anti-inflammation and scavenging free radicals. So in this whole picture here with magnesium, we see, you know, mitochondrial energy is boosted, nitric oxide synthase, which goes after the damaging nitric oxide synthase, which is very pro-free radical, raising glutathione, and then superoxide dismutase, which is another super powerful antioxidant that we make in our bodies. So I'm just using this demonstration, this sheet, to show you the importance of antioxidant and anti-inflammation. So inflammation is going to be related very strongly to, in the body, systemic inflammation to eye health problems. So again, so we would say, so think about it. Think about like lutein, right? High antioxidant that people use for their eyes. Think about zeaxanthin, very highly antioxidant. Think about beta carotene, same thing. We talk about that. Vitamin A for the eyes, highly antioxidant. So again, it's kind of a cool thing, because it means that if we're using quercetin, in other words, like I was talking about, if we're using quercetin for my seasonal allergies, right? But I'm also getting all these other benefits. And Susan says here in the chat, I've been taking quercetin for years for allergies and I rarely get sick, even when around lots of people who are, and always wondered if that was one of the reasons why. And I would say that makes a lot of sense. It makes a great deal of sense. It is hugely excellent for the immune system. And quercetin is hugely antiviral. We're going to talk about that too, Susan, when we get to its effect with COVID. And so, and very interesting too, that elderberry, which is so antiviral, anti-influenza, is very rich in quercetin. So again, a few things that do many things, but through very similar routes, such as squelching free radicals and snuffing them out and thereby squelching inflammation. Very, very cool. Fights allergies. Is quercetin an antihistamine? Some consider it to be a natural antihistamine and an anti-inflammatory, possibly making it effective for lowering the effects of seasonal and food allergies, plus asthma and skin reactions. Yeah, and I do want to take a minute there. I'm going to go back to my newsletter because there was a cool, here, quercetin is more effective than cromolyn in blocking human mast cell cytokine release. Okay, so let's go there. And inhibits contact dermatitis and photosensitivity in humans. So talking about it for skin outbreak, skin contact dermatitis, right? Somebody comes in, had a mom come in with a little girl the other day and, shows me on her trunk, she's got sort of a nondescript rash. I mean, that is the hardest thing to try to figure out what that is. You try to, well, was there anything else? Was there any kind of illness, especially if it doesn't look like anything in particular? But anyway, quercetin is more effective than cromolyn, which is a prescription drug, in blocking human mast cell cytokine release and inhibits contact dermatitis and photosensitivity in humans. So let me explain that about the mast cells. So mast cells are what contain the histamine and a bunch of other inflammatory gobbledygook. And when you have an allergic response, what happens is the mast cell membranes degranulate, they dissolve, and all of that stuff floods out. It just spills out, and that's why you get all of this nastiness. I will tell you, this morning when I was preparing this program, I was like, I've got to take quercetin before I do this program. I was going through Kleenex, and so I made myself an egg because it works better if you have some food. So I made myself an egg and I took it, and I swear within 20 minutes, I noticed a difference. And you can see, I don't have any, like, I'm not sniffing or anything like that. Last night when I got home, we live in a beautiful yard of, lovely, our landlords, lovely fruit trees and every perennial you can think of. It's like the Garden of Eden back there, but in pollen time it can be, and I like to have the windows open, right? Because who doesn't? You hear the birds, and you don't want to be all closed up inside. But I'm telling you, it did totally make a noticeable difference once I took that. So anyway, it's more effective than cromolyn. So what you need to do is strengthen, stabilize the mast cell membrane so that the mast cells stay intact and they don't spill their guts, because that's what you're mopping up then with things. So cromolyn is a drug, which is a prescription mast cell membrane integrity supporter, but they find that quercetin is more effective. And that's super exciting. And again, no negative side effects, right? Just doing stuff in your body that's good for everything. So I was in Dr. Axe's page. Eye-related allergies, asthma, hay fever, stomach ulcers, cognitive impairment, stomach ulcers. I think it's actually anti-H. pylori, which is the bacteria that causes stomach ulcer. Cognitive impairment, gout, viral infections, talking about that, inflammation of the prostate, bladder, and ovaries. That's that's important to know. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking because we use Moducare plant sterols and sterolins for prostate inflammation. So again, working on the Th1, Th2 response. So that makes perfect sense. I'm sort of thrilled that I might be able to change out quercetin for swap in quercetin for Moducare, because it's just easier to take if it works as well. In the cases of the people I have using it for autoimmune things, be interesting to try that. Cancer, chronic infections of the prostate, prostatitis, skin disorders, including dermatitis and hives. So that makes sense. Fights allergies. We just went through that. Supports heart health. Again, quercetin seems to be beneficial for people with heart and blood vessel related disorders. Eating lots of deeply colored fruits and veggies that contain flavonoids is linked to a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and even death in older adults, and among reduced risk for vascular diseases. Again, look for color on your plate. I have to say, I'm pretty proud of Dale and I, because our plates are always super colorful every single day with a lot of different berries and vegetables, mostly vegetables and berries. I'm going to go back here for a second and go to Dr. Jocker's page, because he's got a cool list of okay, so here we can look at some of the quercetin contents of different foods. Again, elderberries right there at the top. So these would all be considered positive, like not like, oh my, spinach hardly has any. It's like, no, I mean, think of all the things that aren't listed there, right? That might not. These are like your top ones. So these are all great foods. And they're easy to incorporate. Elderberries, maybe not so much, into the diet. Okay, let me go back. It's at Dr. Axe's page. Yeah, you guys can still see that. Yeah. All right. Connected to reduced risk for type 2 diabetes and obesity. And again, all of these things tend to come together in people. You've got a person who's got issues with heart disease, obesity, and diabetes and things. Not everybody with one of those situations has the other, but a lot of times we find them together. Helps fight pain. Again, autoimmune conditions such as arthritis, as well as with infections, including those of the prostate and respiratory tract. Very interesting, because I just had a woman asking me about something about her husband, and we didn't know, the doctors didn't know if it was a UTI. They said it looks like it's probably prostate inflammation. So quercetin would be a good thing to think of there. Again, the beta sitosterols too, from like the Moducare, or anyway, there's different things to do, but this is one of them that works in that way. Prostatitis, inflammation of the prostate, and rheumatoid arthritis. There's evidence that when patients with rheumatoid arthritis switch from eating a typical Western diet to one higher in antioxidant-rich foods like uncooked berries, fruits, vegetables, nuts, roots, seeds, and sprouts, they experience less pain and recurring symptoms. And there again, here's our sprouts. Thinking about the broccoli sprouts, the sulforaphane, and the way Bread's company does this, the sprouts are neither frozen or heated, the way most sulforaphane supplements are produced, and then combined with the radish sprouts, so that you actually are able to assimilate the sulforaphane from the broccoli, as I understand it. That this is like super important, because it's like, so again, getting these nutrients into your diet, shopping more that way, looking for recipes if cooking isn't just what comes naturally to you, using your creativity and your imagination, putting together different salads and things. It's fun. The food tastes great, and you get done eating a meal and you feel like you are really nourished. Not are you just satisfied because now you're not hungry any longer, but that you have actually replenished your nutrient stores in your body, which are needed for your health in every way. Might help improve energy and endurance, help increase athletic performance and endurance, likely because of its positive effects on blood flow. Researchers from the School of Applied Physiology at the Georgia Institute of Technology found that on average, quercetin provides a statistically significant benefit in human endurance exercise capacity and endurance exercise performance. That's huge. And that's it's interesting because I carry a product called it's called Curans. It's black currant fruit. I use it for like all the people I'm working with who have Parkinson's specifically. And if someone has multiple sclerosis, it's a specific way. It's a flavonoid that gets into the cerebrospinal fluid and crosses the blood-brain barrier very well. But they really market this Curans, this black currant fruit supplement for athletic performance. So I'm sure it's exactly the same type of mechanism. Increases immune function, going back to what Susan was saying, and prevents susceptibility to illness that can occur when someone trains intensely and experiences exhaustion. One study found evidence that taking 500 milligrams of quercetin twice daily helped protect cyclists from developing exercise-induced respiratory infections following periods of heavy exercise. Now, what's really interesting is the one that I use, and the one that I use and that I carry is this one by Natural Factors. That's because of its absorption thing. And I learned this from a client who lives long distance, and it's been a while since we've been in touch, but way back, he was having a lot of asthma and that kind of things. And he switched out his quercetin that he was using for this particular brand. And he told me that it worked much better. And so they have this particular, anyway, that's the one I use and the one that I carry. But with this one, each capsule is 250 milligrams. And I feel that that's adequate because it's so well absorbed. So just a heads up on that one. So you don't need the 500 milligrams twice a day. I tell people with this one, 250 milligrams twice a day because of its optimal absorption. Plus, you can take it up to 3 times a day. Say you're really suffering, or maybe you're asthmatic and now you've got allergies on top of it and you need extra. You can take an extra one. But anyway, cancer. Rich in quercetin and other antioxidants. We talked about that and how that affects the genes and everything. Very interesting too. It seems to have a potential chemopreventive activity that might have a unique anti-proliferative effect on cancer cells, so they're not multiplying. Making it an effective addition to any natural cancer treatment approach. Research shows that this may result from the modulation of either, this is epithelial growth factor receptors, right? Epithelial growth factor receptors. So think about HER2, breast cancer, which is both estrogen receptor. Somebody might have most breast cancers, except for triple negative, are estrogen receptor positive. And then some of them are estrogen and progesterone receptor positive. If they're progesterone receptor positive too, that's a plus because it down-regulates the estrogen receptor problem. That's a conversation for another day, or maybe not. But anyway, but the HER2 positive cancers, breast cancers, have the epithelial growth factor is, so not only epidermal growth factor. So not only do you have the cancer tumor growing, but you also have this factor going on where the cells are multiplying more frequently. So okay, so it looks like I might have something I have to do here. Oh, Q&A. Okay. You took Jean says she took quercetin, but it increased her GERD symptoms. And is that unusual? I don't know. I would say taking it with food would probably make a difference. And I'm not sure why it would increase GERD symptoms, but sometimes just taking, well, I don't know, because you would know because you take other pills, can aggravate that. So I'll have to look at that. But, and what is the brand again that I use of the 250 milligrams quercetin? It's Natural Factors, and it's called quercetin lipomycel matrix, quercetin lipomycel matrix. It is made by Natural Factors. Okay, now, all right. So that, I think I answered both those questions. Not sure on the GERD. And that's the answer to that. Okay. All right. May protect skin health. Again, so interesting getting back to the whole thing about all right. Capable of blocking mast cells, which are immune cells critical in triggering allergic reactions, inflammatory disease, autoimmune disease. Research shows that quercetin helps protect skin from the effects of disorders like dermatitis and photosensitivity. So now we're going back to that whole point that I made about antioxidants and sunscreen, being antioxidant rich rather than relying on sun blockers. So antioxidants to help the sun repel from burn. So think about, so see, plants do that. They are created in a way to have defense mechanisms that protect them from some of the things that would really harm them. So think tomatoes are out in the bright sun, right? They're so rich in carotene that vitamin antioxidant protects the tomatoes from just like, burning up. So when we ingest these things, they impart the same things to us, the same properties, the same benefits. So this is antioxidants. Sea buckthorn berry is like one of the highest antioxidant rich berries. And again, because of their need to protect themselves from their environment where they're in just beating down sunlight. And so when we, what you want to do during the summer, right? When you're going to be out in the sun, you want to be really enriching yourself with antioxidants that stop the inflammation and the burn. Again, our cream, and I'm not saying that just to advertise our cream, but that's a perfect example of the things that that do that. If you look at, I'm just going to show my screen here for a second. Wondrous Skin. Because I've got a listing here of all of the things that are in here. So parsley, red root, burdock root, yarrow, lavender, sage, skullcap, passion flower, watercress, cilantro, gunpowder, green tea, very high, green rooibos, very high in antioxidants, calendula, St. John's wort, plantain, chamomile, rose, lemon balm, rose petals, jasmine, schisandra berry, slippery elm bark, periwinkle. And these are all, we've got sea buckthorn in there. Oh, Kathy says, sorry if you already answered. No, please ask. Kathy, the dose for the allergy relief is whatever you need. Like I had one woman say that that's this product here, that 5 drops a day did it for her. And she had, but I don't, I do like a couple of squirts. Like I'll be sitting here at my desk in the afternoon, right? And maybe I took my quercetin in the morning with my morning vitamins or something, and I've got my window open, and I might just then go, a couple of squirts. And I would just do it as you need. It might be twice a day. It might be 4 times a day. But again, the things in the plants in here also are super good for you. They're just like really wonderful for your overall health. So I have in here grapeseed, rosemary, green tea, nettle, ginger root, neem leaf, nopal, prickly pear cactus, osha root, purple dead nettle. Purple dead nettle is actually a mint. Purple dead nettle is for quercetin capsules. If you have like pure encapsulations, I think you use a lot of, Kathy. If you have quercetin capsules like that, 500 milligrams twice a day. For the one that I use from Natural Factors, I have 250 milligrams twice a day. But yes, you can certainly go with another brand, but you're going to want to go to a higher dose. And then all of these oils, back to my Wondrous Skin, that is so great for preventing burn. And again, if you send somebody in for radiation burn, and people who have had radiation treatment without this, will tell you they're a mess. Their skin becomes a mess. These are all super rich in sea buckthorn oil, amazing. These are all rich in antioxidants. And so when you're putting that on your skin, plus the aloe vera itself, the aloe vera gel, there's a lot of aloe vera gel in there. And so people will ask me, like, do you have vitamin C in do you add vitamin C to your cream? Do you add vitamin this? Yes, but indirectly through the plants, right? Those things are all in there. And I can't believe we're actually at 105, which is approximately an hour since I started. You can go back to the newsletter if you want to see more about quercetin. It really is remarkably wonderful. Oh, this one I wanted to show you. This was Dr. Mercola came out with this, Dr. Joseph Mercola, back during COVID, because people were, being told they couldn't get hydroxychloroquine, you know all of that. But quercetin works similar by binding to the ACE2 receptors. So quercetin was something that was sort of in my COVID protocol, anti-COVID protocol. And it works, again, like hydroxychloroquine, and binding with the zinc and working in that way. Let's see here. Purple dead nettle. Yeah, purple dead nettle is really good for, thanks for bringing me back on track. Purple dead nettle is great for especially the itchy, watery eyes, nose, sneezing part of the allergy stuff. So I do have it in the allergy relief formula, but I since started bottling it up in just separately for people who really to add on to take extra of that. So I hope that answers that well. And then, oh yeah, thank you for touting my, saying you've liked the cream, Kathy. You've had fabulous results. Yeah, the cream, I have to admit, is our skincare product line is really a winner. And again, it goes back to, if you look at products out there on the market, your high-end products, you've got far fewer ingredients, but they'll throw in, collagen peptides or vitamin C or vitamin this or that. And then you've got a lot of water and things in there. We do this. If you could see, like, we usually always have a big vat of oil where these berries and roots and plants and leaves are all being extracted. So we heat them gently, and then let them sit for days and days, and extract, and all of these lovely nutrients come out from the whole plant. But, it's tried and true tested, because if you can stop radiation burn, and I mean, after 5 weeks of radiation, then you know that you've got a winner. If I go here quickly, it's going to ask me to sign up for my newsletter. This was the first guy I ever used it with, and he had, this was way back. I want to say around 2005 or 6. But he says, during 5 weeks of radiation treatments for prostate cancer, I used Rebecca's Wondrous Skin Cream. Chatting with other patients week after week, they reported their skin had the consistency of fried pepperoni, while I experienced absolutely no redness or blistering right up to the end of the treatments. Then I was so enthused about the skin cream, I gave it to a friend whose Alzheimer's-stricken mother suffered horrible bed sores. The bed sores cleared up so quickly that caretakers kept asking what the secret was. Again, it's just the... it really is just, it's the plethora of nutrients in those plants that are in the products and in that product. And then, we make it with melatonin too, like as a nighttime cream, but the melatonin is such a powerful antioxidant that's the one I recommend now for the radiation burn, although the other one worked fine, but melatonin just adds to all of that. So anyway, I got to let you guys go. It is 1:10 here on May 11th. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to winner chicken dinner. Thanks, Kathy. Kathy liked this program. And I'm just thrilled that you're all here, all my people in class here, all my students. There'll be a quiz next week. And it's not open book. So anyway, we're going to talk, I think I will talk about the sun next week. And happy Mother's Day, Susan. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And happy Mother's Day weekend and celebration to all of you who aren't mothers too, because our mothers play into our lives, everybody, somewhere along the way, right? So anyway, thank you. And I'll see you next week.